Road crews working around the clock trying to keep up with falling snow and icy conditions in the Denver area and across the state. Parts of the Colorado high country are bracing for up to 2 feet of snow. The powerful Arctic chill is bearing down on the Rockies and northern plains before pushing into the southeast. Deadly conditions near Duluth, Minnesota, where a foot of snow is expected today on top of 26 inches yesterday. Howling winds are churning the frigid waters of Lake Superior. At least 4 people have lost their lives on slippery roads. By Friday, temperatures in the region could drop to more than 20 below.
That's kind of tough this time of year because you got to be out shopping and it's hard on everybody, especially the heating bills.
We normally don't get hit this hard right off the bat, but it's December, so it's time for it.
For several areas, record cold, as much as 40 degrees below normal.
I don't like 30 below weather, and nobody does.
Along with snow in many of the plain states, ice. In the cold blast affecting areas from Florida to California, citrus farmers worry if their crop, still on the vine, will survive.
Yeah, you say your prayers, go home and go to bed, get back up the next morning and see what's happening.
A deep freeze that could last a week, and a harsh reminder, winter is here. In the metro area, the snow is expected to taper off later today as the system moves east, but the temperatures will not get out of the teens until the weekend. Leanne Gregg, NBC News, Denver.
And we mentioned at the top of the broadcast there's some active winter weather out there tonight, including a powerful storm having a big impact on parts of the northern U.S. 9 states are under winter storm warnings tonight. And in the southeast, take just the city of Little Rock. They're preparing for a drop of upwards of 40 degrees, mid-70s into the mid-30s in just 24 hours. Weather Channel meteorologist Mike Seidel is up where the professionals live. A cold and windy night in Duluth, Minnesota, where I'm told it's rocking our satellite truck back and forth. In addition to you, Mike, good evening.
Hey, good evening, Brian. It has been a wild day out here in Lake Superior. Winds now gusting over 40 and 6 to 8 foot waves crashing behind me. And just up the road in Two Harbors, they've had 22 inches of snow. As you mentioned, a big part of the West, 17 million people being impacted by the storm as I get hit by a wave. And look at the snowfall forecast. Another foot here. The Colorado ski resorts will get a nice dump of snow with at least 12, maybe 18 inches. Even plowable snow in Denver, where temperatures this afternoon fell 26 degrees in 2 hours. Once the snow ends, the bitter cold comes in from the Yukon. Temperatures Thursday as cold as 35 degrees below average in Denver. Billings tops out at 4. Even colder Friday. Fargo, 2 below zero, and wind chills as cold as 30 below zero. And all this is headed south. We've got winter storm watches up tonight for parts of 7 states from Texas to Indiana, ahead of forecasts of snow, sleet, and ice beginning late Thursday and continuing into Friday. Brian?
Duluth, Minnesota, where we could just about make out Mike Seidel in the cold mist coming off the lake. Mike, thanks for your reporting.
Weather not so great in other parts of the country. Today's top story is a monster storm that's impacting millions of people all across many parts of the country. NBC's Miguel Almaguer is in Denver this morning. He has more on that. Miguel, good morning to you.
Matt, good morning. This storm is impacting some 32 million Americans, and it's not what you see, all this falling snow, that makes this storm so dangerous. It's what you feel. It is 8 degrees here in Denver, a wicked storm that is now deadly.
This morning, a brutal blast of Arctic air, turning parts of the country into an icebox. Outside Duluth, Minnesota, where 26 inches of snow fell Tuesday, another foot of powder is in the forecast today. With many streets unplowed and impassable, at least 4 have lost their lives on snowy and slippery roads. By Friday, it could be 22 degrees below zero.
Well, I'm not too stoked about it, but it happens. It's Minnesota.
But in some regions, this could be record cold. Polar air is dropping temperatures as much as 40 degrees below normal. In the Rocky Mountains, snow. In many of the plain states, ice. A deep freeze that could last a week. For some areas, it hasn't been this cold for this long in decades.
I don't like 30 below weather, and nobody does.
Today, even California is facing the freeze. In San Francisco this morning, temperatures in the 30s.
It's really cold.
In the Central Valley, where 85% of the citrus crop is still on the vine, farmers worry this $1.5 billion industry won't survive the cold spell.
Yeah, you say your prayers, go home, go to bed, get back up the next morning and see what's happening.
An icy blast wreaking widespread havoc and just getting started.
We talked about crops, but for people, the real concern is frostbite. Here in Colorado, they are calling this the Siberian Express. Al, we couldn't feel our face for the last hour or so.
Well, Miguel, that's going to be the case for a lot of folks out there. This is a monster storm that's going to be affecting a lot of people. How many? Take a look at this. I mean, the numbers are really staggering on this. We're talking about upwards of 32 million people going to be affected by this system. And in fact, when you take a look at weather advisories, winter weather storm warnings, winter weather watches, we're talking about 25 states affected. How many miles? 3.3 square million miles of this country going to be affected by this. You can see this massive storm getting itself together. Winter storm warnings, winter storm watches, winter weather advisories being affected by this. We're going to also be looking at this system now starting to fire up. You see snow from Minnesota all the way back to Denver. Snowfall amounts are going to be anywhere from 6 to 18 inches of snow as this system gets affected. The other thing we're going to be worried about, not only snow, but we're talking about ice and power outages. Snowfall amounts basically from western Colorado, about 6 to 9 inches of snow. Upper sections of Minnesota, up to a foot of snow. And the wind and the cold is also going to be a big factor, guys. We are going to be checking this all out. We've got ice to talk about, power outages, and brutally cold temperatures that are going to be coming into a good portion of the country.
All right, winter is here, Al. Thank you.